Hey, friends out there, this is Thursday, November 18th, 2021, and it is just about 5 minutes past 5 in the morning here in Northern California. And as usual, I'll talk about a few different things today. Recently a quote from John Lennon, the famous Beatle and independent songwriter and producer, creator, artist. And the quote was that life is what happens while you're busy making other plans. I never before in my life thought that much of the quote, that it was really profound and meaningful and relevant. But, the older I get, the more my mind is opened to other people's thinking and how there is a lot of commonality in it. That the things that we believe are important, even if they're not said by anybody else, they are important to us to express them and to share them. And, that's really true. That I have found that on the really, really important issues, my view doesn't seem to change much. But on the minor issues, nuanced issues where there's gray area, they can change. So I can, confidently proclaim something, but later in life I say, well, maybe that's not necessarily true. And one thing comes to mind is, I talked about how the female of the species, including humans, they have a period where they're feeling more frisky, let's say, than other periods, if you know what I mean. And I say, well, men are always feeling frisky in that sense. And, my view on that has changed. And, when I view these things, I say, I'll say some things that I feel confident about. But, later I reflect on it and I go, that's not necessarily true. Maybe it's not even true at all. And, a younger man, it may be true for that they think that, they're just going to feel frisky perpetually. They forget that they get older and physiologically we change, biologically. And this can happen earlier in life for some men than others. It varies from man to man, but men aren't always ready to go, and so I just, I like to correct myself and be frank with the people I talk to because, I don't ask you to believe anything I say, but I say, check it out, look into it, investigate it, research it. If you think that it might be important, okay, relevant, that, this whole idea that there's a judgment day, a day of reckoning, when we give account, which is something I believe we want to do. It's sort of like pleasing your teacher or pleasing your parents. It's natural. You're not a suck up. You're not a goody two shoes. It's just normal. It's just a godly instinct. You look up to people as role models and you want to make them happy. You want them to be pleased with you, not displeased. And something went askew. Something went awry a long, 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 long time ago. And whatever the forbidden fruit is a metaphor for, that's where things went wrong, okay? When we did, our ancestors did, and we're carrying the torch for them, okay? We're bearing the cross that they caused to be inflicted upon us. And there's not a damn thing any of us could do. So hating Adam and Eve, whoever they are archetypes for, okay, is not going to help. We're stuck on this ship of fools. Okay, and this ship of fools are people that were disobedient. Our ancestors, or our original parents, biologically speaking. This Adam and Eve, and eating this fruit that they were instructed not to. I mean, anything else they could have. This is the free will choice that made us like God. It made us very distinct and unique from all the other creatures with powerful imagination and intelligence. Okay, this God imbued us with great power. I mean, we're created just a little lower than the angels, it says. So whatever happened that created this shame when we tried to hide ourselves, and God said, why are you hiding? Who told you you were naked? You understand what a huge departure that is? You understand how that reflects on our reality today? No other creature has a burden of knowing they're naked, but we do, and we're all freaking weird about it. We can be prudish, and we could say, you know what? I mean, logically speaking, well, you're born naked. It's just a body. What's the big deal, right? That's a huge schism, and that's where it dates back to. It's important to know it. You see, we're not supposed to know. That's a huge burden to carry, knowing we're naked. I mean, we can hardly imagine it. And so it's just like money. We can hardly imagine a world without money. But these are the things that must go. Okay, it says we're going to be robed with clothing of righteousness. Okay, robed with righteousness. Okay, so somehow, some way, we got to believe it's possible that God can wipe away our shame and our guilt, that sense of separation, that awful feeling of displeasing our parents, and our parents just recoil from us, repulsed by our behavior, saying, look at you, don't have no idea what you gave up, man. You understand? We have no idea what we gave up. How can we? But we can ponder it and say, wow, how different that would have been. Just God's children just frolicking on his green earth, having fun 24/7 for all eternity, growing and expanding in our joy and our peace and our love and our education and knowledge of creation and what God is like, that artist, that biological potter. It's this living work of art, and he wants us to acknowledge him and glorify him and be grateful to him for everything good we've ever experienced or ever will experience, and understand he's not to be blamed for anything negative, from death to miserable insects and everything in between, all that organic suffering that fell upon us after the original sin, the consequence of that. When he was sorry he created us, we got to understand our origins, man, and get it together and say, man, we're still there. It's going to be just like Christ predicted, like in the days of Noah. And look at it, man. Lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God. Money, money, money. Money is just still ruling the world. The purse strings of Satan, or that element, that mindset, that caliber of people still rules the world. They forsake their conscience for $1. Do you understand? If you've got a shred of godly instinct that you say, yeah, I've got boundaries. There's no way. I'll do a lot of things for money, admittedly. But I won't do this. I won't do that. I won't do the next thing. Right? We all know it. That's a beautiful thing. A beautiful thing. And last week I was talking about how, a prostitute is no worse of a sinner than those that patronize the prostitute, and I stand by that. But I said, this goes on in that theme, and people say, well, what is a burglar? Is somebody's house that gets burgled no worse than the burglar? Or is a person that's murdered no worse than the person that murdered them? Listen, there's degrees of everything, but one thing we have to understand is that evil starts in our hearts. You understand? In our mind, they're kind of connected. You understand? So we're thinking evil thoughts when we hold resentments, grudges, unforgiving thoughts, hatred toward others, resentments. Do you understand? And Christ said that we are all murderers because of that. Can you imagine that? Though you've never murdered anybody, you're no better than somebody that toys with the idea that you wish so-and-so were dead. You understand? You're a murderer in your heart. And there is a day of reckoning. And in our right minds, we want that. We want accountability. We want rules, and we want them to be followed, not only by us, but by others. And God didn't put a lot of burden on us. Christ said his yoke is easy, his load is light. It's beautiful, man. Live by the golden rule. Love God above all else, with every fiber of your being, all your essence, your heart, your mind, your spirit, your soul, all your strength. Thank God, because That's where you got the understanding of what's good, what's bad, what's beautiful, and what's ugly. Okay? I mean, yes, God wants to be glorified. He wants to be acknowledged. He wants to be praised. He wants to be honored. Don't blame him for anything bad. Nothing bad. His name is vindicated, always has been and always will be, and you got to get on that side of the equation. But we want to be accountable, and we will be accountable. I believe that with every fiber of my being. Okay, you're not wrong to value your conscience, your integrity, your honor, your very soul is what it comes down to. But you can't keep it to yourself. These things are things you got to share with people, man. You know, help people separate the valuable from the invaluable. And all the things in between. You know, we want to take advantage of all the good things that we have coming our way. And in order to do that, we've got to offer all the good things in us that we have to offer. And I'm not talking about material things. That's trifle. That's nothing. That's ephemeral. That's fleeting. But it's those eternal qualities. Say, you know, invest in eternity. And say, yes, maybe I am owned and I've got this divine, all-powerful set of parents. And if the God that you imagine, when you're truly trying to imagine an all-good, all-powerful God, if you derive anything other than the best and far better than you can imagine, then you got to fire that God. Get rid of him. If it's inadequate, that's a wrong God. You understand? Because the true God will never let you down in that respect. It'll all make sense. This thing called death is never intended. And people will scoff. They'll say, well, that's stupid. What if we never died? Would overpopulate the earth? I mean, this is a God that laid out the freaking universe and all the galaxies and solar systems therein. That gave us life from the microscopic to the elephants and the whales and the dinosaurs. Man, he's wild. He likes to have fun. God is the kitty cat and the puppy dog and the roaring lion and tiger. God is freaking crazy with his love to create. And artists, you look at the craziest artists, I mean, God's got them trumped a billion times over, infinitely. And we're part of this cosmic tapestry forever. And that's what we need. You know, our belief in death is critical because I hate death as much as anybody ever could. And I want to take advantage of all the good things I got coming if it's possible. And one of those good things is this promise of eternal life. And not in a freaking crap hole like this. And it is a crap hole. As long as the freaking money monsters of misery out there are